Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Veronica Farias. I work for Thriving Together NCW as our Director of Network Development. I'm glad that you are tuning in today to learn more about the new Vital Conditions grant opportunity. My goal with today's webinar is to give you the clarity you need to confidently decide if this grant is a good fit for your work. With that being said, here is a quick look at what we will cover today during the webinar. I will start off with a general overview of the grant itself. I will then walk you through the Vital Conditions framework, and then we will take a look at the time and application requirements, as well as the review and selection process. And then we will wrap things up with next steps. So as a part of our ongoing regional network development efforts, Thriving Together NCW has allocated $250,000 for this grant opportunity. The final grant amounts will be either awarded in $10,000, $25,000, or $40,000 award amounts. So we are looking to invest in upstream solutions, which I will get to in the next few slides. And these upstream solutions, we hope that strengthen the vital conditions, which we will also get to in the next few slides. Eligible projects include early stage concepts or pilot efforts, new or existing programs, community engagement activities, or scalable or innovative intervention. So what won't we fund? We won't fund direct crisis response or emergency services, any capital improvements to office spaces like building renovations or vehicle purchases, fundraising events, or projects that aren't upstream focused. And then finally, if you are currently receiving funds from Thriving Together NCW or under contract, your organization is not eligible. We are really wanting new network partners to apply for these funds. So we are encouraging those network members that are currently not receiving any funds to apply. And speaking of who can apply, applicants must also be official members of the Thriving Together network. If you do not know or are not a current network member, please contact me directly after you've reviewed or watched this webinar, and I can confirm if your organization has officially signed up as a network member or not. The organization must also be an established 501c3 or a tribal entity, government organization, or a grassroots organization with the fiscal sponsorship. And so we also encourage regional collaborations or coalitions to apply for these funds as well. So I mentioned earlier about investing in upstream solutions, but perhaps this is the first time that you hear the term and you might not know what it means. So in contrast to urgent services, which are absolutely needed in a time of crisis, upstream essentially means tackling the root cause of what shapes well-being and creating lasting and sustainable change for it. We look at upstream versus downstream. We're looking at how to prevent problems before they even start by focusing on the conditions that influence people's health and well-being. And you might ask yourself, well, what are those conditions? And at Thriving Together, we have used the Vital Conditions framework for a few years now to guide our upstream efforts. These are essentially the conditions that everyone needs to thrive, like belonging, clean environments, meaningful work, and safe housing, just to name a few. I truly enjoy using this graphic when sharing about the framework or talking about the vital conditions. This is a good visual for putting into context the downstream versus upstream thinking. And you can really look at the left side of this graphic, the more colorful, vivid side of the graphic as a thriving piece, and the right side of it as a downstream, as either suffering, struggling, or barely surviving. And that's not to undermine any of these urgent services, because as I mentioned before, they're absolutely needed in a time of crisis. But it's also important to say that we can't urgent service ourselves into thriving. We must invest upstream in these vital conditions for that. So let's dive a little deeper into each of these vital conditions. for those of you who are not as familiar with the framework. And I always start off with the most important vital condition of them all, which is belonging and civic muscle. This particular vital condition is truly the most vital condition of them all because it's not only one of the 7 vital conditions itself, it's also a practical capacity that's needed in all of the other 6 vital conditions for health and well-being. We will dive into the other 6 conditions here in a bit, but for now, belonging and civic muscle, in essence, means feeling connected and contributing to one's community. It includes things like having strong relationships and a strong social support or networks within our communities, as well as having that sense of purpose or influence with one's community. These are the other 6 vital conditions within the framework that will be guiding these grants investments. I won't cover each of these word for word, but as I read through some of them, you can get a sense for what defines and constitutes each of these vital conditions. So as you decide if you want to apply for these funds, ask yourself if your project or initiative aligns with one or more of these vital conditions. So for example, thriving natural world includes things like clean air, water, and soil, but it also includes things like accessible natural spaces or sustainable and healthy ecosystems. Lifelong learning touches on education from early childhood experiences to continuous learning and development as an adult. Humane housing refers not only to affordable housing, but also adequate living spaces and diverse neighborhoods. Basic needs for health and safety includes things like sleep, nutritious food, and safe water, as well as physical and mental health. Reliable transportation, it seems pretty straightforward, but it also includes things like efficient energy use and proximity to everyday necessities. And then finally, meaningful work and wealth includes good paying and fulfilling jobs, limiting death, and overall family and community wealth. I recognize that this is a quick overview of the vital conditions, so I truly encourage you to check out our website and learn more about each of these before applying for these grants. We also have specialized reports for each of these vital conditions, and I truly encourage you to explore each of those as well. So when it comes to the vital conditions grant timeline, here's a quick look ahead. So we do a quick overview for the next 6 months. Come August 31st, the applications will be due. We will have a review period in September where we will be pre-screening the applications and conducting interviews, as well as the review committee will be having and making their selections as well. And then come October, we will be announcing the award at the annual summit. And we hope to start dispersing funds come January 2026. So that is a quick high-level overview of what to expect for the next 6 months as we look at the vital conditions grant process. Application requirements. So these are key sections in your application. We have divided these into 5 sections. So the first section is pretty straightforward. You will include things like your contact and organization information. Section 2 is all about the project information. So what type of funding you're requesting, what regions you are serving, what vital conditions are being addressed, and the anticipated implementation timeline for your project. Section 3 includes the project overview. So if you could provide a summary of your project, identify the upstream solutions that are being addressed, and then highlighting any of those key partnerships that you will be working with throughout the project. The 4th section includes project impact and sustainability. So how are you measuring success? And what are your plans for sustaining this project after this funding is over? And then the 5th section includes a quick breakdown of your budget. How are you anticipating to use the funds if you are awarded? So if you are awarded, what are your expectations as grantees? So it is to use the funds within the 2026 calendar year. Depending on the award amounts, the funds will be dispersed based on milestones or deliverables. The grantee grantees are expected to track and report on their impact as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, having some type of sustainability plan is highly encouraged as well. So we hope that you have a sustainability plan in place as well. So what happens to your application after you submit it? So you will essentially be submitting your applications to me. You will be getting a direct email from me after you have submitted your application. You will then be asked to schedule your own recorded interview, which is the second step in the process. It'll be an interview with the panel. And then the third step will be the review committee. We'll be coming together, scoring the applications, reviewing the recorded interviews, and then making their award decision. So how will the review committee be evaluating your application? So we have a scoring rubric that we will be using, and the review committee will be looking at these 5 different areas. So alignment with the vital conditions. Does the proposal clearly focus on one or more vital conditions? Essentially what they will be looking at. Upstream orientation. Is this project addressing root causes and not only crisis response? So we're really looking at upstream solutions and upstream proposals for this project. Partnerships. So they will also be reviewing if the partnerships are meaningful, relevant, and clearly defined in your application. Impact is all about measuring success and what that looks like for you. And then last but not least, sustainability and readiness. So is your project sustainable beyond this grant period? So these are the 5 areas that we will be reviewing proposals around, and the review committee will be evaluating on. I highly encourage you to pause the webinar here and revisit these 5 areas to really support and beef up your application. So to quickly recap what the next steps will be for this grant application process, applications will be due by the end of the day on August 31st. The review process will start September 1st and will conclude on October 15th with the review committee. And then the awards will be announced at the annual Thriving Together Summit, which will take place on October 22nd this year. We will be issuing out the event registration links here soon, so be on the lookout for our next newsletter on that piece. And other than that, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to revisit this webinar. And if you have any questions, I highly encourage you to contact me via email or feel free to call me, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Other than that, I'd like to say that we have updated our Q&A on our website. So after watching this recording, I highly encourage you to download our latest Q&A for this grant process and get up to speed on the latest questions that were asked regarding the original webinar. You are actually watching a pre-recorded version of the webinar. So any of the questions that arise from the participants in that original webinar have now been implemented in the FAQs. So I highly encourage you to check out our website for those updated FAQs. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll be on the lookout for your applications. Good luck.